All right. Yeah. Thank you, Oz. Yeah. Hopefully, you all got to see some of the a little bit behind the scenes there in the demo kind of lab environment there. That was pretty neat. So really, we're going to spend some time talking about a short amount of time here, talking about kind of why modern auth, why look at that from an identity perspective. So really, it's about a couple of things here. The main thing is really around the perimeter. The perimeter is continuously expanding, which you hear from pretty much every vendor that's out there, partner or whatever. It's 100% true. It's not just some marketing BS that someone's spewing at you. It's that the perimeter is expanding. It's not just inside your data center. It's really the perimeter follows the user, right? And the user is expanding, and I would say it jumped tenfold over the last couple of years with what's obviously the global pandemic, right? So you need not just to extend the perimeter, but you have to basically provide intelligent contextual protections across all form factors, right? And that's really basically that's really what these modern identity platforms provide, right? So centralized identity source, but also bring in that contextual awareness, and then give you the ability to start doing things like crowdsourced identity protections, like if you're talking Azure AD, P2, things like identity protection, specifically around like risk management, automatically looking at known bad passwords, checking against password spray attacks, for instance, or push spamming, or things like, for instance, I forgot the name off the top of my head, but basically, essentially, when you're traveling between two different locations, right? We got that warning last night. Logging in from Kansas and from Florida with the same account, it flags it as a risky user, right? So having that kind of geo conditional access awareness is extremely important. From a password auth perspective, it really is enabling the ability for passwordless auth, right? So being able the ability to not have, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, but not have to worry about passwords when you log into your environment. That's a big deal. Modern identity protocols is really, when we say modern auth, it's enabling more than just your Active Directory password, right? Being able to use things like SAML, OAuth, OpenID Connect, token from an authentication perspective, TOTP, things like that. And that's really where you start to have kind of a single sign-on identity across all your SaaS applications. A lot of companies use Okta or Azure AD. And they've been doing that for years, but now it's like bringing that into the Citrix environment or the AVD environment. That's where we're starting to see that happen now. Multi-factor is extremely, that's pretty much, you need it, right? You should not have any environment without any kind of multi-factor. And in fact, a lot of the insurance companies from a cyber perspective are requiring it. And the other big thing around kind of modern identity is it enables a lot of business opportunities around, like, for instance, streamlining mergers and acquisitions, right? Instead of having to collapse a bunch of local, Active Directory domains, right? You can basically have a central identity platform and sync those identities up into that central identity platform, and then use that to basically transform and log into your DAS environment, which is pretty awesome. Single sign-on, of course, and user provisioning. And that's really more on the identity side, but being able to provision those users and provide single sign-on capabilities. And the last one, which we've been seeing more and more of, is bring your own identity. So telling customers, if you're in a service provider scenario or just customers in general, maybe you have vendors that you want them to use their Azure AD tenant or their Okta or their Google identity platform to log into your DAS environment. You can totally enable that with Citrix Workspace, with the ADCs as well. So enabling those B2B scenarios. And then finally, just want to make mention here on the modern auth piece is, FIDO2 support is supported from the VDA 2009 plus, or 2009 plus. And it provides native FIDO2 token support, and that with its own custom virtual channel, which you'll see kind of a demo of that today, which really enables a streamlined experience there. And then 22H2 Insider Preview, 22H2, actually last night, we just got an alert on that. So that their AVD does support SSO plus FIDO2 support. It just kind of is in tech preview still, but it's baked into Windows 11 only, where on the FIDO side for CVAD or DAS is Windows 10 plus.